What's the difference between religion and spirituality, and which one is it that you practice? And what is spirituality anyway? I think we all have a lot of different viewpoints, so let's talk a little bit about that. Listen to me, Patty, who started this channel. I started this channel about 9 months ago to help me and help you find those unconscious, unloving parts of you, identify them, and change them into more loving and conscious parts of you so that we can have a more conscious and loving world. Because this world is really divided right now. And it starts with me. It starts with you. So let's dig into it. And I'm so happy you're here. Let me tell you a little bit about spirituality as I know it. To me, spirituality is a connection with God, and how you get there is how you get there. You can get there through God. You can get there through religion, whether it is Hinduism, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Zen, whether it's Christianity, whether it is Judaism, whatever it is that gets you there. Awesome. But what is there? There is where a lot of people get confused, for me, and where I have been confused a lot. For a long time, God was a concept to me, just an idea. I did not know what God was. I could read the words, but I would run across people who would say, oh, God loves me so much. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't see anything around you. And I'm serious. And I don't know what you're talking about. And it's taken me decades to get here. It isn't about crystals, although crystals can be used. It isn't about incense, even though incense can be used. It isn't about ayahuasca or bufo, even though they can be used. It is a spiritual practice to practice the presence of God, to practice the presence of awareness and practice the awareness of presence. It is a practice to get so still and quiet to experience the love of God. And sometimes we can actually experience the love of God in this 3D dimension. And sometimes we can experience God in meditation in the 5D dimension, which is really amazing. And that's where we end up anyway. And what I want to talk to you about is about spirituality. You know, Michael Singer, who's one of my favorite teachers and authors, talks about how people can get into samadhi, which is a blissful state. They can do this breath work and they can get into that loving space, and they come back and they're an asshole to people. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to be loving in this world, because that's what we're here for. We have so much division in this world, right? And what do you do to contribute to it? Are you out there with a bullhorn yelling at people, saying that they're bad? Well, you know, that's not helpful and that's not loving. To me, anyway, it isn't. But you can do what you want to do. But for me, to practice the presence of God and to live in that energy, that loving, indescribable compassion is my work. And what I know is that science shows that we have 77,000 thoughts a day, average. And in those 77,000 thoughts a day, 95% of them are from yesterday. So we are living in a 5% conscious state, which is hardly anything. And that's probably when we're working or something, like when we're focused on something. So how can we find those things about us? And that's what my daily channel is about, is finding those parts of us, those ineffective thought patterns that are not loving to us, that are so angry and bitter and frustrated. All those parts of us are pointing us to another direction. And we can either force our will, our very will, into what we want, which is not heart mind. What it is ego mind, but from heart soul, where we get so present. And I know it to be true. If I can get so present with the awareness of God through meditation, the answers come to me. If I'm reacting out of fear, out of judgment, out of condemnation, and I've got to make right the wrongs, that's not my deal. It's not your deal either. You think it is, but it isn't. It is to allow everything to unfold as it is. It is to accept everybody and everything as they are. And from that, Make a decision how you want to move forward in the world in a loving, compassionate way. This is where my work is, and it's where your work is. So listen up as I read and lead from One Day at a Time, which is, as you can see, been a long time in my world. December 11th. It is often emphasized in writings and reading that ours is not a religious process, but a spiritual one. And the central truth of all worship, creed, church, or dogma is that God is the essence of our being. And this is the spiritual idea of my spiritual practice. If we stop going to church, we may think we are disposing of a God who has disappointed us. We may see God as a punisher who has sought us out with unmerited pain and suffering. However we regard God, or even if we do not recognize God, our higher power, the divine at all, it is always there within us, within everything and every person in the universe, constantly available for our help if we are willing to accept. And how well we use the consciousness of God in our daily lives depends not on God, but ourselves. The consciousness of God is indescribable compassion. And how do I know? Because I've experienced it. I have observed that those who make the best progress in their spiritual practice are those who readily accept the presence of a higher power. Once they can do that, it is easier then to let go and let God take care of it. And their problems resolve themselves in a way that passes human understanding and in a way that we least expect. And I know that to be true. Whether it's through my bankruptcy, whether it's been through my divorces, my failed relationships, the jobs I've had, the people I've lost, everywhere, God is present. And if I can just let go, something always comes in its place. I had this meditation a couple of years ago. I may have shared this before, but where a part of me, a part of my personality had to die, literally had to die for something new to grow. And I would not be where I was unless I was willing to let that shit go. So I had this epiphany the other day, and it was so beautiful. And that epiphany is, if I can lead from my heart who I really am, that beautiful essence of me, like the beautiful essence in you, and stop leading from what I think to be me, what I think other people think I am, whether it is I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not young enough, and I'm all that shit. If I can let one part of that go and change it into something loving, I am good enough, I am smart, and gosh darn it, people love me, you know? If we can get and find, it's a practice. I'm not saying it's easy. I've been at this a long time, and I fall from grace a lot. However, I know I am in the arms of a loving presence. And if you can take 5 minutes today just to practice not thinking and being present, staring at a candle, placing your attention on your heart, listening to music, whatever that practice is, and just keep practicing until you can feel gratitude, until you can feel love, then you'll get there. But it is a practice, and it takes commitment, and it takes dedication, says the woman who has 218 videos every single day, because this is my daily practice. And thank you for joining me in it. I love you, and if you like this kind of content, please like, subscribe, follow, and share it with somebody who may want to know more about it. And if you want to know more about spiritual practices, please email me. My email is below if you want to talk about it. I love you.